1. Live fully in the present. In today's fast-paced world, our attention is constantly being pulled in every direction: deadlines, to-do lists, future ambitions, and unresolved regrets. It's easy to overlook the moment that truly matters, the present. Stoic philosophy teaches us that learning to live fully in the present moment is not just a helpful mindset, it's essential for building lasting inner peace. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." These words are a clear reminder that life is fragile and fleeting. The past cannot be changed, and the future is uncertain. The only time we ever truly own is right now. Many of us are consumed by thoughts of what went wrong yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. We plan obsessively, replay conversations in our heads, or worry about outcomes we can't control. As a result, we miss the richness of the current moment, a moment that, once past, can never be retrieved. Living in the present is more than just an abstract idea. It's a practical habit that can transform your day-to-day experience. Take something as simple as drinking your morning coffee. Are you scrolling through your phone, half distracted? Thinking about your upcoming schedule? Or are you fully present, savoring the aroma, the warmth, the taste? That small shift in attention makes a big difference. When we pay attention, even ordinary moments become meaningful. The Stoics believed that peace is found not by changing our circumstances, but by changing our relationship to time. Being fully present allows us to release the mental tension created by regrets about the past or anxiety over the future. It also increases our awareness, sharpens our focus, and builds emotional resilience. Mindfulness is a key practice that supports this Stoic principle. Contrary to what some may think, mindfulness doesn't require hours of meditation or complex rituals. At its core, mindfulness is simply the practice of noticing your breath, your thoughts, your surroundings, your emotional state, and doing so without judgment. When you wash the dishes, just wash the dishes. When you talk to someone, really listen. This practice allows you to engage with life more fully and with more presence. Of course, living in the present isn't always easy. Our minds naturally wander. We're conditioned to plan ahead, to anticipate problems, to analyze and assess. The Stoics understood this and recommended using self-reflective questions to anchor ourselves in the now. Epictetus suggested we regularly ask, "What am I doing right now? Is this contributing to my overall well-being?" These simple questions can gently bring us back to the present moment, especially when we catch ourselves operating on autopilot. There are also simple ways to build this habit into your daily routine. You can start with a short morning practice. Take 5 quiet minutes to sit, breathe, and focus on what's happening within and around you. No goals, no fixing, just noticing. This kind of grounding exercise helps set the tone for a calmer, more focused day. Another effective method is to practice single-tasking. In a world that glorifies multitasking, Stoicism reminds us that doing one thing with full attention is far more satisfying and effective than juggling 5 things at once with a scattered mind. Whether you're eating, working, exercising, or resting, do it deliberately and with intention. Living in the present also means accepting what is, without resistance. It's natural to wish for different circumstances or to long for a different outcome, but when we fight against reality, we only exhaust ourselves. The Stoics teach us to accept life as it unfolds and to work with what is in our control. By doing so, we find a flow that replaces friction with clarity and calm. Being present also enhances our relationships. Think about the last time you felt truly heard by someone, when they gave you their undivided attention. That presence created connection and trust. Now flip the perspective. How often do we truly give that kind of presence to others? When we put away distractions and really show up for the people around us. We enrich those relationships and deepen our bonds. In a deeper sense, living in the present is a form of self-respect. When we give our full attention to what we're doing, no matter how routine or minor it may seem, we honor our time and our life. We signal to ourselves that this moment matters, and in doing so, we create a life that feels fuller and more meaningful. To summarize, living fully in the present is one of the cornerstones of Stoic wisdom. It calls us to let go of distractions, release control over the uncontrollable, and immerse ourselves in what is happening right now. When we do this consistently, we reduce anxiety, boost our clarity, and experience a deeper sense of fulfillment. As Marcus Aurelius said, "While it is in your power, be good." And the power is always here, in this moment. 2. Understand the impermanence of life. One of the most powerful and humbling lessons from Stoic philosophy is the acceptance of impermanence. Everything in life, our relationships, possessions, achievements, even our physical bodies, is temporary. The Stoics believe that recognizing this truth is not a reason for fear or despair, but rather a gateway to greater appreciation, peace, and intentional living. Marcus Aurelius captured this principle when he wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." At first glance, this may sound bleak, but it's not meant to be morbid. It's a call to wake up, to stop taking time for granted, and to treat every day, every moment, as something valuable and fragile. Most of us go through life with an unconscious assumption that things will stay the same. We expect the people we love to always be there, our health to remain steady, and our routines to continue uninterrupted. But the reality is that everything is in constant flux. Circumstances shift, emotions change, people grow apart, and nothing is ever guaranteed. The Stoics teach us that by embracing this fact rather than resisting it, we can free ourselves from much of the stress and suffering we typically create. In modern life, we often seek stability and control as a way to feel safe. We make plans, set goals, accumulate possessions, all in hopes of building a life that feels secure. But the more we try to grip tightly onto people or outcomes, the more anxiety we invite. Stoicism reminds us that instead of chasing certainty, we should build our strength to adapt to change. Take relationships, for example. We often act as if the people in our lives will be with us forever. While that hope is natural, it's not realistic. People move away, priorities change, and life happens in unexpected ways. Epictetus offered this striking piece of advice: when you kiss your child goodnight, say to yourself, "They may not be here in the morning." While this may seem harsh, it's actually a practice in deep appreciation. When we acknowledge impermanence, we start to treat our time with others as precious, rather than guaranteed. This principle doesn't only apply to people. It extends to our careers, our status, and the things we own. Material possessions can be lost in an instant, through economic downturns, accidents, or simple misfortune. The Stoics warned against attaching our identity or happiness to things that can so easily vanish. Epictetus reminded his students, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." By loosening our grip on what we can lose, we develop a kind of freedom that isn't shaken by external change. Understanding impermanence also helps us deal with failure, disappointment, and even aging. In a society that often glorifies youth and constant achievement, it's easy to fear the passage of time or feel broken by setbacks. But the Stoics viewed every season of life as a part of nature's cycle, each with its own beauty and value. Seneca wrote, "We are born to die. It is our duty to prepare for that and to live as if each day were our last." Rather than fearing aging, we can embrace it as a period of reflection, wisdom, and deeper insight. When we stop resisting time, we open ourselves to the richness of life at every stage. Impermanence can also sharpen our focus and help us prioritize what truly matters. When we accept that time is limited, we become more intentional. We stop wasting energy on petty drama, chasing empty goals, or holding grudges. We start valuing presence over performance. And depth over distraction. This mindset shift allows us to live with greater purpose and clarity. Imagine you're overwhelmed by stress at work, buried in deadlines, worried about impressing others. Or anxious about the next promotion. From a Stoic perspective, you can pause and ask, will this matter in 5 years? Probably not. That realization softens the pressure. It reminds you that this stress is temporary, and that your peace of mind is more valuable than external validation. This doesn't mean that Stoics were passive or didn't care. On the contrary. They believed in living with purpose, integrity, and courage, but with the understanding that nothing lasts forever. They encouraged doing one's best while letting go of attachment to outcomes. By fully accepting the transient nature of life, we begin to live more honestly. We don't waste time pretending things will always be the same. We stop postponing joy. We forgive more easily. We say, I love you, more often. We take risks, speak our truth, and choose gratitude over entitlement. In conclusion, the Stoic lesson of impermanence is a reminder to cherish what we have while we have it. Nothing is promised, not tomorrow, not even the next hour. But instead of letting that scare us, we can use it to fuel a deeper appreciation for life. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, let each thing you would do, say, or intend be like that of a dying person. In that awareness, we find not fear, but the courage to live fully, presently, and with gratitude. 3. The power of acceptance. One of the most liberating ideas in Stoic philosophy is the concept of acceptance, not in the passive sense of giving up, but in the powerful act of choosing peace by recognizing what is outside our control. The Stoics believe that a great deal of human suffering comes from our resistance to reality. When we try to fight what we cannot change, we only exhaust ourselves and create inner turmoil. Acceptance, in contrast, allows us to reclaim our peace and redirect our energy toward what truly matters. Epictetus put it simply, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. This quote is the heart of Stoic acceptance. It acknowledges that there will always be external events beyond our control, other people's actions, the weather, economic downturns, illness, even fate itself. Instead of obsessing over these things, we are better served by focusing on our responses, our attitude, our decisions, and how we carry ourselves through adversity. Let's take a common example, being stuck in traffic. For many, this can trigger irritation, impatience, or even anger. But the traffic isn't something we can change in that moment. All the honking, sighing, and mental complaining won't move the cars any faster. What is within our power, however, is how we respond. A Stoic might use that time to listen to an audiobook, reflect on their day, or practice deep breathing. In doing so, they turn an unpleasant situation into a moment of peace or growth. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled one of the largest empires in history, knew better than anyone how little control one has over the outside world. He wrote in his Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. It's a message that still resonates today. When we shift our focus inward, to our thoughts, actions, and mindset, we stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable and begin to build true resilience. It's important to understand that acceptance doesn't mean passivity or indifference. It doesn't mean you stop striving for growth or let people treat you poorly. Rather, it means you acknowledge what is happening without being emotionally wrecked by it. You accept the facts, then choose your response consciously and calmly. Let's say you've worked hard on a project at your job, only for it to receive little recognition. A natural reaction might be disappointment or frustration. But a Stoic would ask, did I do my best? Was I ethical, focused, and consistent? If the answer is yes, then the lack of recognition is something outside of your control. You can accept that and still feel proud of your effort. In doing so, You build inner confidence that doesn't rely on external praise. Another common area where acceptance plays a major role is in our relationships. People are imperfect. They let us down, behave unpredictably, or act in ways we don't agree with. Trying to change them often leads to more conflict. The Stoic approach is to accept others as they are, and then choose how to engage with them wisely. You can set boundaries, express your thoughts, or even walk away if needed, but without resentment or hatred. You accept their nature and act accordingly, without being consumed by judgment. Seneca offered a beautiful metaphor when he wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Life's challenges are not interruptions to peace, they are the path to peace, if we face them with the right mindset. When we accept difficulty as part of life, we stop feeling victimized and start feeling empowered. Acceptance is also key when it comes to past mistakes and regrets. Many people carry emotional baggage from decisions they can no longer change. They replay moments, blame themselves, or wish they had acted differently. The Stoics would say, reflect, learn, then let go. The past is no longer within your control. What matters now is what you do next. Marcus Aurelius said, "The present is all we have. The rest is either memory or imagination." Acceptance frees us from the prison of the past and brings us back to the present, where we actually have power. We can also apply acceptance to uncertainty about the future. Worrying endlessly about what might happen, losing a job, a relationship, or our health, only drains us. The Stoics remind us that fearing what hasn't happened yet is wasted effort. As Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Accepting uncertainty doesn't mean you don't prepare, it means you stop trying to predict or control what's inherently unpredictable. In today's world, where social media and news constantly expose us to things outside our influence, the Stoic practice of acceptance is more relevant than ever. Instead of reacting emotionally to everything we see or hear, we can choose to step back, assess what's in our control, and respond with calm clarity. In summary, the power of acceptance lies in its ability to free us from unnecessary suffering. By accepting what we cannot change, the actions of others, external events, the past, and the future, we reclaim our energy and redirect it toward what truly matters, our character, our actions, and our present moment. Acceptance, as the Stoics teach, is not weakness, it's wisdom. It is the strength to let go, the courage to face reality, and the grace to move forward with peace in your heart. 4. Learn to let go. Letting go is one of the most powerful, and often most difficult, practices in Stoic philosophy. Whether it's releasing regret, unmet expectations, failed relationships, or the desire for control, learning to let go allows us to live more freely and peacefully. The Stoics taught that much of our emotional suffering stems not from events themselves, but from our attachment to how we think things should be. Epictetus said it best, "It is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about them." When we hold on to rigid expectations, or cling to what's already past, we create unnecessary pain. Letting go is not about detachment from life or people, it's about releasing the emotional grip we place on things that are beyond our control. Think about how much energy we spend replaying past mistakes. Maybe we wish we had said something differently in an argument, or regret not taking a certain opportunity. These thoughts, while human, can become heavy burdens when we let them linger. The Stoics believe that reflection is useful, but only when it leads to learning, not self-punishment. Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." We cannot move forward if we're dragging the weight of what's behind us. Letting go also applies to relationships. People come into our lives for different reasons and seasons, and while some connections last a lifetime, others naturally fade or end. A breakup, a falling out, or the loss of someone dear can be deeply painful. Yet Stoicism encourages us to honor what the relationship gave us, the joy, the lessons, the growth, and then accept its passing with grace. Epictetus offered a sobering but freeing perspective: when you kiss your child goodnight, say to yourself, they may not be here in the morning. This practice isn't about being morbid, but about appreciating what we have without clinging to it. When we recognize that everything is temporary, we stop taking people or moments for granted. Letting go becomes a form of love, allowing things to be what they are, without needing to possess or control them. Another area where letting go is crucial is with expectations. We often imagine how life should go, how our career will unfold, how others should behave, or how quickly we should achieve success. When reality doesn't align with those mental scripts, we suffer. But the Stoics teach us that we can only control our efforts, not the outcomes. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This quote reminds us that acceptance and letting go hand in hand. When we stop resisting what life brings and release our tight grip on how we think it should be, we become more open, adaptable, and resilient. We still care, we still act, but we are no longer defined or destroyed by outcomes. Letting go is especially empowering when it comes to the opinions of others. Many of us are held back by the fear of judgment, the need to be liked, respected, or admired. This external validation can become a mental prison. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That doesn't mean we should stop caring entirely, but it reminds us that we don't need approval to live with integrity. Letting go of that need frees us to pursue what truly matters. Consider a real-life example: you're giving a presentation at work and start worrying about how people perceive you. You focus so much on whether you'll sound smart or be liked that you lose your focus and feel anxious. Now, shift to the Stoic approach. You let go of the need to impress and concentrate on what you can control: your preparation, your delivery, your mindset. You may still feel nervous, but your clarity and confidence increase when you stop obsessing over external reactions. Letting go also applies to our identity, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. Maybe we see ourselves as a successful professional, a perfect parent, or someone who always has things under control. While those self-images can be motivating, they can also become rigid roles we feel pressured to maintain. The Stoics remind us that we are not our job titles, our possessions, or our achievements. All of those things can change. Who we are is deeper: our character, our choices, and how we respond to life. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And indeed, it takes courage to let go of comfort, ego, control, and even parts of ourselves that no longer serve us. But in that release, we find freedom. We no longer carry what's too heavy, chase what's out of reach, or cling to things we cannot keep. Instead, we make space for clarity, growth, and peace. In conclusion, learning to let go is not about giving up, it's about letting life flow without being emotionally held hostage by what's already gone or what's beyond your reach. The Stoics invite us to live lightly, to hold what we love with open hands, and to trust that we have the strength to meet whatever comes next. When we let go, we don't lose, we gain ourselves. 5. Practice mindfulness. In the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a simple but transformative idea: to live well, we must live with awareness. This is what modern thinkers call mindfulness, the practice of being fully present, grounded in the here and now, without being dragged into the past or carried away by worries about the future. The Stoics didn't use the term mindfulness as we do today, but their teachings emphasize this exact principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." In just 4 words, he captured a core truth: we only ever have this moment. Everything else, memories of the past or anxieties about what may come, exists only in the mind. Yet most of us live anywhere but the present. Our thoughts race with what we should have done, what we need to do next, or what might go wrong tomorrow. In doing so, we miss the richness of what's happening right in front of us. Practicing mindfulness the Stoic way means paying attention to your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings, but doing so without judgment. It's about noticing rather than reacting, observing instead of overanalyzing. When you catch yourself lost in thought, the goal isn't to scold yourself, but gently to return your focus to what's actually happening now. Let's take a common scenario: you're having dinner, but your mind is replaying a disagreement you had earlier. You're barely tasting your food, barely hearing the conversation around you. In that moment, you're not really present. Now imagine approaching that same meal mindfully. You savor the flavors, enjoy the company, and appreciate the experience. Nothing external changed, but your awareness made all the difference. The Stoics believe that most suffering arises not from events themselves, but from how we interpret them. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Mindfulness helps us catch those interpretations in real time. When we're aware of our thoughts, we can challenge them, reframe them, or let them pass without giving them power. This creates emotional space, a pause between stimulus and response, where wisdom can grow. You don't need elaborate routines to practice mindfulness. You can begin with small, daily habits. Start by focusing your attention during routine tasks: brushing your teeth, walking to the store, washing the dishes. Rather than zoning out, bring your full awareness to the task. What do you see, hear, feel? What thoughts are arising? This simple practice builds mental discipline and presence. Another effective technique is mindful breathing. Set aside 5 minutes a day, morning or evening, to sit quietly and focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, as it will, gently bring it back. This exercise may sound simple, but over time it rewires your brain to be more calm, focused, and self-aware. Mindfulness also enhances our emotional regulation. Suppose someone says something rude to you. Your automatic reaction might be anger, defensiveness, or shame. But if you're practicing mindfulness, you may notice the rise of that emotion without immediately acting on it. You pause. You breathe. You choose your response instead of being swept away by it. That's Stoic mastery in action. Epictetus taught that the chief task in life is distinguishing what is up to us from what is not. Mindfulness sharpens this skill. It allows us to observe our impulses and see clearly where we have influence, and where we don't. When we're present, we can respond with purpose instead of reacting out of habit or emotion. The Stoics also connected mindfulness with gratitude. By being more aware of our surroundings and experiences, we start to notice things we normally overlook: the warmth of the sun, the kindness of a friend, the beauty of a quiet moment. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." Mindfulness makes that enjoyment possible. In the modern world, mindfulness is more crucial than ever. We live in a time of constant stimulation: phones buzzing, news updates, multitasking, endless scrolling. This barrage of input fractures our attention and steals our peace. The Stoic response is not to escape the world, but to slow down and reclaim our awareness within it. Let's return to another real-life example. You're working, but your mind keeps drifting to an upcoming meeting or a conversation that didn't go well. Your productivity drops, and your stress rises. Practicing mindfulness means catching that drift, recognizing it without judgment, and gently returning to your current task. That simple reset builds your focus and reduces the mental noise that clouds your thinking. Over time, mindfulness helps you live with greater clarity. You become more present in conversations, more intentional with your time, and more anchored in your values. You begin to notice when your thoughts are leading you astray, and you learn how to bring yourself back to center. This is not about perfection, it's about presence. About showing up fully for your own life, moment by moment. In conclusion, practicing mindfulness is a foundational Stoic habit that cultivates emotional strength, mental clarity, and inner calm. It allows us to live more deliberately, to reduce unnecessary suffering, and to connect more deeply with ourselves and the world around us. As the Stoics remind us, the only time we can live, act, and grow is now, and now is always available. 6. Use silence effectively. In an age of constant noise, never-ending notifications, and an overwhelming pressure to always respond, Stoic wisdom offers a quiet, radical solution: the power of silence. To the Stoics, silence wasn't just the absence of sound, it was a tool for clarity, self-restraint, and inner strength. In a world that rewards fast talkers and instant replies, Stoicism teaches us that knowing when not to speak can be one of the wisest choices we make. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This quote, also echoed by Epictetus, points to the value of listening deeply, not just to others, but to ourselves. Silence gives us the space to reflect before reacting, to absorb what's truly important, and to respond with intention rather than impulse. Many of our problems stem not from speaking too little, but from speaking too quickly. A rushed comment, a defensive reply, or an emotional outburst can damage relationships, cloud our judgment, and pull us away from our values. Silence, when practiced intentionally, becomes a shield that protects us from regret and a mirror that reveals our true thoughts before we let them out into the world. Think about a time when you received upsetting news or felt provoked during a conversation. The natural instinct might be to fire back, to correct, defend, or retaliate. But the Stoic response is different. It teaches us to pause, breathe, and sit in silence, even for a moment. That space allows emotion to settle and wisdom to rise. What would have been a reaction becomes a response. That is the strength of stillness. Epictetus advised, "If you wish to be a writer, write. If you wish to be wise, listen." Listening is a form of silence, and not just hearing others' words, but truly absorbing their meaning without preparing your rebuttal while they speak. In doing so, you not only understand others more deeply but also earn their trust and respect. True dialogue begins not with the desire to be heard, but with the humility to listen. Silence is also a sanctuary. In a noisy world filled with distractions, carving out moments of quiet allows us to think clearly, assess our emotions, and reconnect with our inner compass. Seneca wrote, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." This doesn't just apply to speech, it applies to thoughts, actions, and time. Silence gives us the mental space to separate what truly matters from the mental clutter we carry throughout the day. Let's consider a real-world example. Imagine you're in a team meeting and someone criticizes your idea in front of others. The urge to immediately defend yourself or prove them wrong can feel overwhelming. But the Stoic approach would be to pause, to listen without ego, to sit in that moment of discomfort without lashing out. Maybe you respond thoughtfully later. Or maybe you realize the comment didn't deserve your energy at all. In that silence, you've gained control over the only thing that truly matters, yourself. Silence also helps cultivate emotional intelligence. When we resist the urge to fill every quiet moment with words, we become more attuned to our own emotional states. We can sense when we're speaking out of insecurity, anger, or fear, and choose to hold back until we've regained balance. This self-restraint is not weakness, but strength in its highest form. Marcus Aurelius posed a powerful question in Meditations: ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Before you speak, before you post online, before you argue, ask that. Is this necessary? Will this bring value? Will it align with who I want to be? If the answer is no, silence may serve you better. In today's digital world, this practice becomes even more critical. Social media encourages fast opinions, immediate reactions, and constant sharing. But just because we can say something doesn't mean we should. The Stoics would likely advise us to think twice, to reflect before reacting, and to understand that silence, even online, is often the more powerful response. Silence can also be a tool for self-awareness and gratitude. In quiet moments, away from distractions, we can reflect on what we're grateful for, what we've learned, and how we're growing. These insights rarely come in the middle of a loud room or a busy screen, they come in solitude, in stillness, in silence. Think of it this way. Just as a musician needs pauses between the notes to create melody, we need silence between the chaos to create meaning in our lives. Without silence, everything becomes noise. But with silence, we begin to hear ourselves, clearly and without distortion. In conclusion, using silence effectively is a core Stoic habit that builds inner strength, mental clarity, and emotional balance. It allows us to listen with intention, speak with purpose, and act with wisdom. Silence is not emptiness, it's space, power, and perspective. When we learn to embrace it, we discover that many of life's answers, and much of life's peace, are found not in what we say, but in what we choose not to say. 7. Enjoy the journey, not just the outcome. In a culture obsessed with goals, achievements, and the next big milestone, it's easy to forget that most of life happens in between. The Stoics remind us that while setting goals is useful, real peace and satisfaction come not from the final destination, but from how we walk the path. They urge us to enjoy the process, the journey, and to let go of our obsession with results. Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens, and you will be happy." This quote flips our usual thinking. Instead of measuring success by whether things go according to plan, Stoicism invites us to shift our focus inward, to our actions, our intentions, and how we carry ourselves through the process. In modern life, this mindset can be incredibly grounding. Whether you're building a career, working on your health, raising a child, or starting a creative project, there's a natural tendency to fixate on the finish line. We tell ourselves, "I'll be happy when I get the promotion, when I lose the weight, when I publish the book." But the Stoics warn that placing happiness in outcomes makes it fragile and always out of reach. Why? Because outcomes depend on many factors we don't control, other people's decisions, market forces, timing, even luck. When we tie our peace to results, we live in constant tension. But when we learn to value the journey, the discipline, the effort, the learning, we gain something more enduring, joy in the present. That joy is available now, not someday. Imagine someone training for a marathon. If they only care about crossing the finish line, they may see the daily runs, sore muscles, and early mornings as burdens. But if they shift their mindset and learn to appreciate the training itself, the physical growth, the mental resilience, the small wins, then every step becomes meaningful. Even if the race gets cancelled or they finish slower than expected, they still walk away with something real, personal progress. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If your thoughts constantly revolve around, 'not there yet,' or 'still not enough,' then no goal will ever feel like enough. But if your thoughts embrace what you're doing now, your life becomes more satisfying, regardless of the outcome." Enjoying the journey also helps us stay present. When we focus too much on the end result, we often miss what's happening right in front of us. Think about how much time we spend mentally fast-forwarding through our lives, to the weekend, to the vacation, to retirement. But life doesn't begin later. It's happening right now. And if we're always rushing ahead, we never truly live. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that virtue, living with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, is found in our daily actions, not in distant accomplishments. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that things are difficult." In other words, the courage to take action, to face challenges and grow, is more important than whether we win or lose. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine you're working on a long-term project that's deeply meaningful to you. Maybe it's starting a business, writing a book, or learning a new skill. You hit roadblocks, delays, and moments of doubt. If you're only focused on the final product, every obstacle feels like a setback. But if you focus on the journey, the problem solving, the resilience you're building, the little breakthroughs, then every step, even the tough ones, adds value to your life. This mindset also protects us when things don't go as planned. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, outcomes fall short. A job falls through. A relationship ends. A goal is missed. If we've placed all our happiness in that outcome, we're crushed. But if we valued the journey, the lessons, the effort, the character we developed along the way, then the experience still holds meaning. We walk away stronger, wiser, and more at peace. Enjoying the journey also teaches us patience. We live in a culture of instant gratification, but meaningful things take time. Whether it's building trust, mastering a craft, or growing emotionally, true progress is slow and often invisible. The Stoics remind us not to rush the process. As Marcus Aurelius said, no matter how long you train a bird to sing, it will never sing like you do. Each of us has our own pace. Accepting that lets us be more compassionate with ourselves and others. In conclusion, learning to enjoy the journey is a Stoic practice that brings more meaning, resilience, and joy into our everyday lives. When we let go of the need for perfect outcomes and focus instead on the present effort, we become more grounded and more fulfilled. The road may be long, but it's where life happens. As the Stoics would say, don't just chase the finish line. Embrace every step. 8. Find joy in the simplest things. In a world where success is often measured by how much you own, how busy you are, or how many people know your name, Stoic philosophy offers a refreshing truth. Happiness doesn't come from having more, it comes from appreciating what you already have. The Stoics believe that true joy isn't found in luxury, status, or grand achievements, but in life's quiet, everyday moments. It's a mindset shift, from craving what's outside of us to savoring what's already within reach. Seneca put it plainly, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. This quote speaks to the core of Stoic joy. If your happiness depends on constantly gaining more, money, recognition, things, then satisfaction will always be just out of reach. But if you can find contentment in a warm meal, a kind word, or a quiet walk, you begin to live a richer, more grounded life. Modern life tends to condition us to seek happiness through accumulation, the next promotion, the latest phone, the perfect vacation. Advertisements and social media constantly whisper that joy is something to chase. But the Stoics taught the opposite. They encouraged people to look inward and notice the beauty in simple things, things we often overlook because we're too distracted by the pursuit of more. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If your thoughts are always focused on what you lack, you'll feel empty no matter how much you gain. But if your thoughts are rooted in gratitude for what's already present, even a modest life becomes deeply fulfilling." Consider a simple moment, sitting on your porch with a cup of tea. There's no spotlight, no achievement, no grand reward. Yet in that stillness, there's peace. The warmth of the cup in your hands. The breeze. The pause. These are the kinds of moments Stoicism urges us to notice, and treasure. Not because they're flashy, but because they are real. This mindset doesn't mean you stop striving or setting goals. It means you stop tying your happiness to outcomes. You learn to enjoy life as it is, not only as you wish it would be. When you do that, the pressure to constantly improve, upgrade, or outperform fades. You can still work hard, but with calm, not desperation. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This is a reminder that the most powerful form of freedom is freedom from desire, the kind that constantly tugs at your peace and says, "You're not enough yet." When you reduce your wants, life becomes lighter. You start noticing the beauty in ordinary things, sunlight through the window, laughter with a friend, or the feeling of finishing a good book. Gratitude plays a major role in this shift. The more you focus on what you're thankful for, the more joy naturally rises. You can build this habit with small daily practices, like writing down 3 things you appreciated today. Or pausing before meals to reflect on the effort and blessings that brought that food to your plate. These aren't gimmicks, they're training for the mind. They help steer your attention away from lack and back to presence. This practice is especially important in difficult times. When life feels heavy or uncertain. Finding joy in small things helps anchor you. Maybe it's a quiet moment alone. Or someone holding the door open for you. Or the fact that, even on a hard day, you're still here, still breathing. Still growing. The Stoics weren't naive about suffering, they just believed we could meet it with strength and appreciation. Let's take a practical example. Suppose you've had a disappointing week. Things didn't go as planned. A project failed. You're tired and stressed. In that state, it's easy to spiral, to think life is against you or that you need to fix everything immediately. But the Stoic approach would be to pause. To breathe. And to look around. What small things are still going right? Is there a roof over your head? A friend who checked in? Food in your fridge? In recognizing those simple blessings, your perspective softens, and peace returns. Seneca advised, true happiness is, to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. That means joy isn't about controlling what happens next. It's about being awake to what's happening now. That shift, from craving to presence, is the foundation of inner peace. Finding joy in the simplest things also invites us to simplify our lives. We don't need to escape to a cabin in the woods, but we can cut back on distractions, commitments, or possessions that don't add value. We can make room, not for more stuff, but for more presence. More meaning. More connection. In conclusion, the Stoics teach us that joy isn't hiding in some distant destination, it's right here, in the little things we often ignore. By practicing gratitude, reducing our wants, and slowing down enough to notice, we begin to live more fully. We stop chasing happiness and start experiencing it. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, a rich life is not about what you accumulate, it's about what you appreciate. 9. The art of gratitude. Gratitude is not just a feel-good practice, it's a form of wisdom. To the Stoics, being grateful wasn't about pretending everything is perfect. It was about recognizing the value of what's already present, no matter the circumstances. Gratitude, for them, was a mindset of strength. A way to see clearly and live fully, even in the face of hardship. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." In that simple statement lies a profound truth. Appreciation isn't weakness, it's a sign of depth, clarity, and emotional resilience. When we learn to focus on what we have, rather than what we lack, we begin to free ourselves from the endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction that traps so many people. In today's fast-paced, consumer-driven world, it's easy to fall into the habit of always wanting more. More money, more recognition, better things, a better life. But Stoicism teaches that happiness is not found in accumulation, it's found in recognition. Recognition of what's already good, already working, already enough. Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This means that gratitude isn't just a temporary emotion, it's a daily discipline. It's choosing, every day, to see your life not through a lens of scarcity, but of abundance. Let's consider a typical day. You wake up. Perhaps already thinking about what you have to do or what's bothering you. A Stoic approach would be to pause for just a moment and reflect, you woke up. You're breathing. You have another day to try, to love, to improve. That alone is something to be thankful for. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, when you arise in the morning. Think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Gratitude reframes everything. It doesn't erase problems, but it puts them in perspective. When you focus on what you appreciate, your brain, and your mood, shift. You become less reactive, more patient, and more anchored. This is why the Stoics saw gratitude as a practical tool. Not just a poetic idea. It helps you navigate challenges without losing sight of what still matters. For example, imagine you've been passed over for a promotion. Disappointment is natural. But a Stoic response wouldn't be to wallow or deny the feeling, it would be to reflect. Can you be grateful for the experience, the skills you developed, the opportunity to improve? Can you acknowledge the setback while still recognizing the parts of your job, or life, that are still good? This kind of mindset keeps your spirit intact, even when things don't go your way. Gratitude is especially powerful during difficult times. When life is hard, we tend to narrow our vision, focusing only on what's going wrong. But Stoicism reminds us to expand that view, to notice what's still holding us up. A friend who listens. A body that still moves. A moment of peace between storms. These aren't small things. They are anchors. You can train yourself to be more grateful. One effective method is keeping a gratitude journal, writing down a few things each day that you're thankful for. They don't have to be big. In fact, noticing small things, like a hot cup of coffee, a quiet walk, or a good laugh, helps you stay grounded in daily life. Over time, this practice rewires your thinking. You begin to scan your environment for what's good, rather than what's missing. Gratitude also improves relationships. When we express thanks to others, we strengthen our connections. We show appreciation not just for what they do, but for who they are. Seneca encouraged people to express their gratitude openly, not just in private thought. Saying, "thank you," writing a note, or offering a sincere compliment costs little but creates great value, for both giver and receiver. In relationships, gratitude softens judgment and increases patience. Instead of fixating on someone's flaws, you begin to see their efforts, their kindness, their presence. This doesn't mean ignoring problems, it means balancing criticism with appreciation. It builds trust and reminds both people of what they have, rather than what's lacking. Gratitude also ties back to the Stoic idea of impermanence. When you understand that everything, your health, your time, your loved ones, is temporary, you begin to appreciate it more. You stop taking life for granted. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and begin to cherish this moment. That's gratitude in action. To summarize, the art of gratitude in Stoic thought is not about ignoring difficulty, it's about choosing perspective. It's the daily decision to see what's good, to honor what you have. And to recognize that joy doesn't come from having everything, but from realizing you already have enough. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, and us, don't imagine things being better. Imagine how much worse they could be, and feel grateful that they're not. Gratitude isn't just a practice. It's a way of seeing, and living, with wisdom, humility, and peace. 10. Appreciate solitude. In a world that's constantly connected, the idea of being alone can feel uncomfortable, even threatening. Social media, endless notifications, crowded schedules, and non-stop noise leave little room for stillness. But for the Stoics, solitude wasn't something to avoid. It was essential. It was where strength was built, peace was found, and wisdom was sharpened. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That single line reveals a Stoic truth. The most valuable form of solitude isn't about escaping to a cabin in the mountains, it's about learning how to retreat inward. To find calm not in your surroundings, but in your mind. Solitude, in the Stoic sense, isn't about isolation or loneliness. It's about presence. It's about stepping away from the noise of the world long enough to hear your own thoughts, to examine them, question them, and understand them. It's the practice of being alone with yourself, and being okay, even empowered, by that. We often avoid solitude because we're afraid of what we'll find when the distractions disappear. Without the busyness of daily life to occupy us, uncomfortable emotions can surface: anxiety, regret, boredom, insecurity. But this is exactly why the Stoics encouraged solitude. They believed that facing those thoughts head-on was the key to personal growth. Seneca said, "A well-ordered mind is at home with itself." If you can't be alone with your thoughts, then you haven't yet developed peace within. Solitude is where that peace is cultivated. It's where you process your experiences, make sense of your emotions, and reconnect with your values, away from noise, opinions, and expectations. Think of solitude as a reset button for the soul. Throughout the day, your mind is pulled in 1,000 directions. You react, respond, adapt, and absorb. Over time, this clutters your inner space. Stoic solitude helps clear that clutter. A few quiet minutes in the morning, a walk without your phone, or time spent journaling at night, these small rituals create room for reflection, clarity, and intentional living. For the Stoics, solitude wasn't about escape, it was preparation. Marcus Aurelius, despite being a Roman emperor with endless responsibilities, carved out time to write in his journal, not for anyone else, but for himself. In those quiet moments, he sharpened his character, reminded himself of his values, and practiced gratitude. If he could make time for solitude, we all can. In solitude, we also learn emotional regulation. When you're constantly surrounded by noise and people, it's easy to react impulsively. But when you step back, into silence, into stillness, you regain control. You notice what you're feeling. You name it. You ask yourself, is this emotion serving me? Or is it clouding my judgment? That pause can change everything. Let's take a real-world example. Suppose you've had a disagreement with a friend or partner. Your emotions are running high, and your instinct is to fire back, to say something sharp or send a message you'll later regret. But if you give yourself even a short time alone, to walk, breathe, reflect, the anger settles. You gain perspective. You begin to respond, not react. That's the power of solitude. Solitude also helps you become more self-directed. When you're always surrounded by other voices, online, at work, even among friends, it's easy to lose sight of what you believe, what you want, what you value. But when you spend time alone, you come back to center. You ask, am I living according to my principles? Or am I just following the crowd? The Stoics believe that solitude reveals your true self. Without an audience, there's no performance. No pretending. No pressure to please. In solitude, you can be honest, even raw, with yourself. And from that honesty comes growth. This practice also builds resilience. When you're comfortable being alone, you're no longer dependent on others for your peace. You enjoy companionship. Yes, but you don't need it to feel whole. You can sit quietly with your thoughts and feel calm, not restless. That is a rare and powerful form of confidence. Seneca even wrote, "Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company." In other words, solitude isn't just a practice, it's a test of strength. Can you be alone with yourself, and feel at peace? Can you meet your thoughts without judgment and use them to build character? In our fast-paced world, solitude may seem like a luxury. But it's not. It's a necessity. It's where you breathe deeply, reflect clearly, and return to your life more grounded, focused, and at ease. In conclusion, appreciating solitude is a powerful Stoic habit that fosters clarity, emotional resilience, and self-awareness. It's not about being disconnected from others, it's about being deeply connected to yourself. In solitude, you don't escape life, you prepare for it. You gather your thoughts, renew your strength, and walk back into the world more centered, more mindful, and more alive.